Hello and welcome to the Startup and Career Show, your destination for inspirational stories and real life experiences of startup founders and corporate leaders. I'm your host, Rishabh, in conversation with two wonderful gentlemen, Kartik and Rehan, founders of the Startup Labs, a digital agency specializing on marketing of D2C brands. A very warm welcome, guys. Glad to have both of you on the show today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rishabh. Looking forward to it and love the introduction. Thank you.
So, Karthik and Rehan, before we talk about your core areas of expertise towards these D2C brands, would want to know your professional journeys. How did you guys start the Startup Labs, and how has been your professional journey so far been like?
Awesome. Perfect. I'll take the first part of it and then hand it over to Kartik to tell you once we've started how it's gone. So again, cut back to quite a few years ago now, in 2016. At the time, I was working first with Coca-Cola in Delhi, then with Book My Show in Bombay, and Kartik was working with a lot of startups and SMEs and helping them grow and scale their digital presence. And the two of us actually happened to play football together at the time and even now, right? So one day before stepping onto the field, we started talking about startups and marketing and how we felt that we can help a lot of companies do digital better than they currently were. So we started talking to a lot of founders and entrepreneurs and understanding their challenges and their goals a little more clearly. And we figured that, hey, we kind of do have something that we can offer them. We are able to understand this space well. And we had a good network of people who were able to spot us from a tech front, from a design front, because we primarily help with the strategy and the overall operations of things. So after that, we decided that, okay, fine, this looks like a promising idea. And that's how the Starter Labs came to light. I'll hand it over to Kartik to cover how we've been doing over the last 6.5 years now, and right up to the point from when we started to now when we've just been acquired. So Kartik, over to you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rehan. So Rishabh, it's been 6.5 years now. I started off in September 2016, and you already know the details of how we went about this. But over the last 6.5 years, it's been great because what started off as something that was just Rehan and me trying our hand at trying to achieve what we thought other brands needed to achieve. Has now become a team of about 60 people spread across 7 primary departments, 3 support function departments. We're also venturing out into other cities. So from Mumbai, doing Bangalore and Delhi, working with clients from, even though we specialize in the D2C space, within D2C also, we pretty much worked across the board from nutraceutical to sports to fashion, lifestyle. And it's been a fantastic journey because there's just so much learning and so much growth, not just for Rehan and me, or not just for the Starter Labs as an agency or an organization, but every single member that's been part of the journey, every single teammate, every peer. We've seen tremendous growth, and that's also been part of that's been part of Rehan and my core beliefs. And while we're growing the business, we're also helping shape individuals and professionals. So together, it's been pretty fulfilling over the last 6.5 years.
Yeah, and to add to that, we've over the last few years, we worked with probably over 250 companies across various different categories and industries. So it's been really fulfilling for us individually and as an agency collectively to have an impact on so many brands and so many people, and actually help shape the culture of the D2C space in India. So that's been really exciting for us, to the extent that, in fact, last year we got acquired by Zoo Media, and Zoo Media is one of India's fastest growing homegrown media networks. So they've acquired a part of the company. So while, of course, Kartik and I are still running the show and doing all the day-to-day operations, the scale of operation that they work with and the kind of resources and structures that they have really helps us from, as Kartik pointed out, a people's point of view, but also from a brand and client point of view, able to really impact things across the board.
That's actually incredible. You guys have had a fascinating journey so far. But specifically, if I wanted to ask you, how did you guys pivoted towards focusing more on the D2C brands as a category? Because that's where your expertise lies. And how does this tie-up with Zoom Media happen? If you can just touch base on these two.
Yeah, so I'll leave it to Kartik to talk about how we started pivoting into D2C, and then perhaps I'll get into how conversations started with Zoom Media after.
Sure.
Yeah. So one thing that we were very clear on, no, Rishabh, is from the start we wanted to have we wanted to set up an agency which didn't operate as in that traditional formats of a brand, please come and work with us. We'll give you 20 posts, we'll give you 10 designs, and then we'll move on with our lives, right? Because what we realized is that the whole digital space was evolving so much. Maybe 10 years, 12 years ago, it was okay to have that kind of approach where just pushing out content was enough, right? But it's evolved so much where the conversations range from extremely technical and intricate all the way to ambiguous conversations about, say, one individual creative or a story or a post also that people are doing, right? But what became what kind of stood out for us is when we were able to have technical conversations to explain to the people or the brands that we worked with how digital works, what the kind of process is. Just running an ad or just putting out a post is not enough. That's not enough to get you sales. It's not enough to get you awareness. It's not enough to do anything for your brand. And that's when we said that, hey, if we worked or operated in a fashion or in a space where we were able to let the data continuously guide us, that becomes something that is a very sweet spot for us. And over the first 3-4 years, we realized that we kind of got our best results and also had the best relationships in the D2C space. Because what happened is we ended up kind of hand holding the brands, not working as an agency, but as an extension of their team. So we started kind of hand holding these brands, explaining to them how the brand needs to evolve, because you could have a website that works for you today, but that same website might not work for you 3 years later when your traffic increases, when you're spending more money on ads. So all of these factors came into play, and because we found the best results in the D2C space, we fostered the best relationships in the D2C space. We had the most seamless experiences when brands came and wanted to work with us in the D2C space. We figured it's a no-brainer because we wanted to continue doing good work that we love, but also work that allowed us to kind of have that freedom to experiment, not experiment so much so, but try different things for the brand. Because at the heart of all of that we do in advertising or marketing, it's just developing hypotheses and then testing it out and seeing if it works or not. And that we figured was the easiest replicable model when we worked with D2C brands. So while we do all kinds of out of the box wacky stuff with the brands that we do, our approach is still data centric, and that was one of the key reasons we moved into this space and made it our expertise. Which is also part of the reason why it was so interesting for Zoom Media to come and talk to us, because they didn't have any agency in the network that's purely just owning the D2C space. And with that, I'll give it to Rehan to talk about the whole Zoom Media bit.
Sure. Yeah, and as Kartik rightly pointed out, this kind of did happen organically. We were just doing, well, in our opinion, really good work for a lot of brands that we were working on. But the D2C brands really started appreciating our work because they could directly see results and output from the kind of work we were doing. So it just naturally became, people started telling their friends and other entrepreneurs, okay, talk to Rehan, okay, work with Kartik. They'll be able to really help you in terms of scaling your business and growing your business. And because the two of us are founders, we understand from a founder point of view what we need to look at, right? While, of course, there are tons of metrics which are important, we understand that for the business helping the business is the primary goal of our agency client relationship. So every decision that we take is to help the client or the brand with their overall business. So we sort of organically got into this, and over the years we've been talking to a few. In fact, we had, outside of Zoom Media, a couple of other parties interested in acquiring us. But I'll tell you how the story actually came about. And again, the two kind of relationships blossomed at Bombay Gym, where Kartik and I play football together. So one was between the two of us, and one fine day at the gym, I happened to bump into someone who was doing back exercises, and he said, "Oh," and I happened to be doing back exercises. So he said, "Hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that?" And then I bumped into him later in the changing room, and we got to talking. And it so happened to be this gentleman named Suvir Bajaj, who's one of the founders of Zoom Media. So he was telling me about the agency Foxy Moron that they've started about 15 years ago now, and the kind of work that they've done. And it seemed really interesting. So we started talking about our work. And one day, Kartik and I were chatting, and we said, "Hey, well, can we just set up a meeting with him and just chat with him and say, hey, we'll tell you everything about business. Can you help us? It'd be great if you can help us." And he was more than happy to. This conversation probably took place in maybe 2019 or so. Then in 2020, they started getting more and more interested in our business and proactively helping us. Which is, okay, fine, this is strange, really sweet of him. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. We'll take the advice, take the help. And then finally, one day, while we were talking to him, we just kind of said, hey, so we really appreciate you helping us. But what do you want? Like, why are you doing this? That's when he said, okay, fine, guys, I'll tell you the broader objective is that where he and his business partner, Kartik Gupta, they were starting, or they rather at the time they did start Zoom Media, and what they were looking to do is acquire specialist agencies who are really performing well in different fields to come into the network and still be founder run and founder led, but join Zoom Media network so that we have a holistic set of solutions that we can give to a lot of our clients, and to make sure that we're growing brands and accounts and specializing in this D2C space, which again, what Kartik mentioned earlier was that because it's such a unique space and a different space, you can't just have a creative agency or a performance marketing agency or media agency or tech agency. They can take on D2C projects, but we know how to sustainably scale a D2C account. So that's where we uh, really stood out in their eyes. And then we had conversations, and maybe this whole acquisition took probably 12 to 18 months to actually put together. But yeah, on April 1st, 2022, we officially were partly acquired by the network. So that was interesting and real a testament to Kartik and I that the work that been doing for the 6 years up to that really bore fruit.
Wow, this is really incredible because we've often heard many things happen over a cup of coffee, right? But in your case, things have happened on the football field and at the gym.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
is incredible. But guys, since your focus and expertise has been on these D2C brands, so can you talk about the strategies that you guys used for some of your brands and what differentiates you, so to speak?
So I think the overarching strategy, right? Because it's all going to be it always boils down to like the nitty-gritties, like the small intricacies when we run these strategies. And so every brand and in fact every industry will also be so diverse. But if you want me to summarize this at an overarching level, I'll try and boil it down to a couple of principles. The first one is every decision we take has to be data backed, right? So the proof is always in the pudding, and if the pudding is filled with a whole lot of data, life becomes a lot easier, right? Because then it's not ambiguous. Data allows us to look at things in a more binary fashion. You're not using things like I didn't like it, or hey, my our marketing officer didn't like it, or my designer has a problem with it. All of a sudden it's, hey, is this good enough? If it's good enough, is it getting us or making us achieve the benchmarks that we need to achieve? So almost everything operates in a way where we first try and achieve benchmarks, and then we kind of move from there. So the first principle that we follow when we're building out strategies is a data first approach. The second is we always look at it as a full funnel approach, right? And I know a lot of people do this, and traditionally we've been taught the IDA funnel and stuff like that, right? But it when you have a full funnel approach, it allows you to kind of understand that every time a customer interacts with your brand, right, or there is a touch point, or there is a moment of truth where the customer has to make a decision whether he clicks on the ad, spends time on the website, adds to cart, or makes the purchase, or comes and makes another purchase. All of it is happening through a series of interactions, and each interaction has to try and drive the person to take the next possible or to take the next best step, the final step of which is the sale. And most people forget this, right? They say, like I said earlier, hey, I'm uploading posts on social media, why am I not getting a sale? Hey, I have a website, why am I not getting a sale? But hey, have you thought of what social media does for you? Because social media doesn't give you sales, it gives you engagement, it gives you awareness, it gives you brand recall. From there you start sending people to your website, you have a great interface there, you have a great user experience there, and then that person will actually go ahead and consider how to make a sale, right? So if I have to boil this second, the first part is data centric, and if I have to boil the second part down to a principle, which is that full funnel approach, it's actually our ability to look at, or rather have a macro focus but via a micro lens. So we do understand that for all brands it will eventually boil down to sales, right? Whether it's now or 6 months later, or when that person sits with his or her finance team, they will come back and say, boss, my top line and bottom line are not looking interesting if you're not getting the sale. So it this approach, the macro approach via micro lens allows us to look at the larger objective, but also helps us understand that in order to achieve that sale, there's so many smaller victories that we have to take. Now, because Rehan and I played football, I'll try and boil this down to a football comparison that we like doing, which is the final goal is scored by one kick or one header, right? But right up until that goal is scored, let's call that our sale. There's 100 passes that have to come together. Between those passes, someone needs to make a movement from the right hand side, from the left hand side, etc., etc. So that's pretty much what we do. That full funnel approach allows us to look at various aspects of the consumer journey and then keep optimizing it. The third and the final strategy or principle that we use is a conversion rate optimization approach, which is when we start work with people, we will, or when we start work with anything, even if it's a new campaign, old campaign, new brand, old brand, we put benchmarks in place and then we kind of work backwards from there. Because say if there is X, which is an industry benchmark, and we are in that industry, the bare minimum that we should be doing is achieving that industry benchmark, which is when we can say, okay, you know what, we're holding our own. And then you kind of move up from there. You then hypothesize on, okay, what can we do to impact this further? How can we move beyond industry benchmarks? How can we start doing better? But the first step is always let's get to the benchmark and then move up. So this approach we like to call conversion rate optimization. And together, these are three principles that kind of govern what strategy we will deploy for the brand, what kind of creative communication we'll have, what kind of strategic communication we'll have, what platforms, formats we'll use. So yeah, I think these are the three principles at the heart of all of the work that we do.
This is really incredible, Kartik. But Rehan, there are so many different D2C brands operating in each segment these days, right? And entry barriers are so low that new ones can come up so easily. So tell me, based on your experience, how can a D2C brand create a differentiator to catch the attention of the customer?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are two levels to it, which the first level was actually addressed very nicely by Kartik, in the sense that to acquire consumers, this entire customer acquisition journey, that needs to be really strong. Now, it's a given when we're rather marketing a D2C brand, there has to be something unique about that brand or special about it, right? Whether it's the brand or the story or the product in itself. So let's take an example, right? I'm wearing this shirt. Let's say, for example, if this shirt costs 1,000 rupees. Now, tomorrow, if someone makes the exact same shirt at 2,000 rupees, I'm not really incentivized to buy it. But maybe they say, okay, fine, it's a sustainable shirt. You can customize it. You can get it perfectly fit. You want to add a pocket on one side and the other side. Then maybe there's some utility for it, or there's a affinity that I like this product. That's why I want to consume it. I think a good indicator of the second side of the business after your customer acquisition costs is to try and identify how long your customer's LTV, which is lifetime value, how long are they going to actually stick around? A lot of brands, and in fact, I was Rishabh, having a conversation with someone just in the morning about one of their brands. I won't get into details because they're a potential client and not a client, but I'll just give you the lay of the land for them. They sell these luxury products at 3,000 rupees. Let's just assume they're shirts, right? Let's assume it's a shirt for 3,000 rupees. And one of the challenges is that right now their customer acquisition costs are too high. Their customer acquisition costs are over 2,000 rupees. So they don't have any profit margin that they make on any product. And the average order value is one product. But now, and they're a new business. So it's not making sense right now. But let's assume that all three of us buy the candle and we never buy it again. These guys have gone into a loss because they spent 2,000 rupees to acquire us. They've just made 1,000 rupees on that sale, and their production cost, let's assume, is another 1,000 rupees. But now what happens when three of us buy that product again? They've spent nothing on customer acquisition, but now all of a sudden, instead of making a 0 rupee profit, they're making a 3,000 rupee profit, or rather 2,000 rupee profit after their product cost, just because we like the product and we bought it again. So true mark of a good D2C product is, will your consumer purchase it again? Because you're absolutely right, Rishabh. There are so many options. If I don't want to buy this shirt, it's not like there's shortage of places I can go online and type buy shirt online. I can spend 3 days and I won't finish going on Google's searches. So your product definitely has to stand out. And from a marketing and communication point of view, of course, you have to authentically communicate what it is. But at a more fundamental level, your product genuinely needs to be a good product.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you know what? Many D2C brands say that customers are willing to buy products from the marketplaces like, say, Amazon or Flipkart, but they don't want to put their credit card details on an unknown website or an app, maybe due to security issues or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, what is, in
Yeah.
your opinion, should such a D2C brand do to win the customer's confidence?
Yeah, so you need to, firstly, as consumers and typically as a brand owner, we start asking why aren't people buying from our site. But when you look at it from a consumer point of view, look at it from our point of view, we're not incentivized again to buy this shirt off the website when we can buy it on Myntra, or we can buy it on Amazon, where we're buying 5 other things anyway. So what incentivizes us to do it? There are a couple of things. Again, it's not limited to a couple of things, but the easiest thing which people look at is, okay, fine, can I sell it at a better price? Now it's difficult to compete typically with deep discounting brands, though most of these brands like Amazon and Myntra, now they have contracts where they're not allowed to undercut you. But that being said, you don't want to only play the price game. But for example, is there a bundle where only on my website, I customize these shirts only on my website. I don't do it on Amazon, which is why Rishabh, maybe you'll say, okay, fine, I want it customized, so I'll go on your website and purchase it. Especially if I'm giving you, for example, a cash on delivery, or I'm giving you some incentive, or I'm bundling something. Another interesting strategy that a lot of brands use, which does work well, is if you let them make the first purchase wherever they want, right? Whether it's Amazon or Myntra or whichever marketplace it is, and put something in that packaging, maybe a small card or coupon, say, hey, thank you for ordering. The next time you order, here's a barcode for a 10% off, which you can use on our website. So trying to get more and more consumers onto your D2C site. It's very industry specific as well, which Kartik covered a little earlier, that the same strategy will not work for every industry. You might pay 3,000 rupees on a website to buy this shirt. There's this pen that costs 3 rupees or 10 rupees. You're never going to go on a website and buy a 10 rupee pen that you're going to do on Amazon. So for a product like this, again, don't focus, unless you're doing bulk orders, don't focus on your D2C site, focus on marketplace. And for higher ticket items, see how you can get people to convert from marketplace to your D2C site. And it has to be a journey and a mix. You can't be too extreme and say, I'll do 100% and 0%. You have to figure out what mix is right for you for that brand.
Yeah, but and to just add to that, Rishabh, I'll just spend another minute on this, but I think Rehan pretty much hit the nail on the head when it comes to comparing the two points of sale, whether it's your native website or you're using an aggregator like Amazon, Myntra, Flipkart, etc., etc. But I think in other strategies aside, your approach aside, I think one important thing is to understand in that industry what is happening and then make a choice whether you will be native first or you will be aggregator or e-com websites first, because most people forget to do this, and we've seen this across the board. They forget to build in these kind of costs or accommodations, right? Because when you're building on your own, when you're selling on your own website, you might have a slightly higher acquisition cost in terms of convincing someone to spend that money on your website, whereas on Amazon you might not need to do that. However, Amazon will charge you their own kind of rates and their own commissions and things like that. Whereas that does not happen on your own website. Irrespective, the takeaway is that as a business owner, you need to kind of work these into your costings, into your business plan, into, in fact, even the pricing of the product. Because fact of the matter is, we're all way too comfortable with these aggregators, right? Just yesterday, I purchased a pair of sport shoes. I could have gone to the Adidas outlet. I could have ordered from the Adidas website, but I said, no, you know what? Amazon is fine. It'll come in 2 days. If there's a problem, I'll return it. There's no issues of monies. I can use COD, I can use cash, I can use my GPay. So we've just gotten way too accustomed to that. So it's very important to understand in your industry or your nature of product, are people looking at native websites? Are people looking at e-com? And either way, building that into your business plan. So building that into your budgets, building that into your product prices as well, I think goes a very, very long way. It's something that a lot of people forget, but it's pretty much at the heart of D2C, right? So whatever strategy you use, the feedback would be build those costs into your product pricing.
Oh, absolutely. I think Rehan, Kartik very well, articulated on this as well, because this has been a pain point that many people, face, especially on the D2C side of things. But tell me, Kartik, what is your uniqueness that benefits these D2C brands when they work with you? Maybe if you can share a couple of case studies from your portfolio, because you worked over 200 brands now.
Yeah. So I think the main thing is, firstly, our approach, which is we look at ourselves as an extension of the brand and not just as another agency that's offering the deliverables, right? And I'll tell you why this matters. Because even our contracts will say the same thing that every other contract does, which is we will give you these number of creatives, we will run these number of ads, this is the kind of budgets we'll handle. Where it becomes different is because of our approach towards what impact we create, right? When we look at ourselves as an extension of the brand itself, we're not an outside agency that's coming to the client and saying, hey, we give you 20 posts, so please give us our money and we can be on our way. The one assurance we give you is that whether it's a post, whether it's an ad, whether it's a website, whether it's an entire campaign, we will call out exactly what metrics we're looking to deliver on. So whether it's click-through rates, increased time spent on website, higher number of pages visited, an increased add to cart, whatever it is, we will call out the metrics and then we work towards influencing those metrics, because if those metrics are being influenced, it will 100% create business impact. And that's where we're different, because every action we take, we want to create business impact. We don't want it to be a thing where we come to you and say, hey, we reached 50,000 people or 50 lakh people this month. We want to be able to tell you, hey, we reached 50 lakh people, they did ABC actions. Because they did ABC actions, this is how we plan on amplifying that or making the most of that in the upcoming time. And eventually, this is how it will boil back down to your sales, your repeat customers, your community building, your brand recall. So we will have a very data centric approach. We will keep looking at those metrics, and eventually we will look to impact your P&L statement. And honestly, that's where we believe we're different. In fact, that's how we believe every agency or every vendor, every support provider should be operating. Because if you're not able to impact, the monies, the inflows, the outflows, increase sales, uh, what really are you doing for that brand, right?
Absolutely, absolutely true. But tell me, Rehan, since I think it's been over 6 years now, you guys are doing this stuff. So how, according to you, can brands create these personalized experiences for their customers?
Yeah, and I think that's a very the word experience used, Rishabh, is the right word over here, because a lot of people just believe that, okay, fine, we put a website, we put our product on the website, why are people not buying? But there's a lot more that actually goes into it, right? Think about it from a physical store point of view. Let's say, again, I know we've used this shirts example to death, but if you go into an H&M or a Zara, it's not that they've just they painted the walls white and they put an AC and now they put clothes on a shelf and you can pick out those clothes, right? Every part of that experience is curated in some sense to when the person walks in, when you see the store, when you see the outside of the store, you see the brand, you know what you're getting, and you know you're going to get a nice experience. You're going to be able to see 100 different things over there, and you're going to be able to try product, etc. So similarly, from a D2C point of view, we shouldn't look at websites as, okay, fine, here's a website and a landing page where I have listed my information. You should look at the entire, not just the website rather, but the entire D2C universe as where you can actually create some experience for your consumer. And now those experiences don't have to start and stop at the website. Experience is everything from when the person first interacts with the video that you put out on social media, or when someone opens your Instagram profile, what do they see? When they say, hi, is this product available? Do you reply saying, yes, it's available? Or do you say, hey, thank you so much for your interest. We're so glad that you like the product. Of course, it's available in 3 sizes and 5 colors. Here's the link that you can click to buy it. If you have any help, do let us know. More than happy to help you and respond to you. And a lot of an extension of that is, don't just keep it purely transactional, right? Now again, think of Rishabh, let's say buy 2 separate t-shirts from 2 different companies. If the quality of the t-shirts is, let's say, around the same, the price is the same, and one person sends it to you, for example, after 7 days, which they had committed to, and the other brand sends it to you after, let's say, 2 days with a card saying, hey, Rishabh, thank you so much for being with us or for purchasing this product. We really hope you like it. Maybe you get an email or a WhatsApp from them later saying, hey, did you like your product? And then based on what you say, yes, they don't say, okay, thank you for your report. They say, great, if you like this red t-shirt, in the future, should we notify you when more red t-shirts are available? Are you interested in a black t-shirt, etc., etc.? Now you know that okay, fine, it's transactional. Their end goal is to make a sale, but you're happy because they care about you, right? And the companies, especially in the D2C space, that generally care about their customers are generally ones that have what we spoke about earlier, high lifetime value, where they are able to make repeat purchases. And those are the companies that generally are able to build communities and have bigger and better impact on people and more recurring sales.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, what you said is very true because even we at Backstage are empowering such D2C brands with the customer experience platform that actually offers two-way live video conversations, which is augmented by AI and help them deliver these personal experiences, which actually helps them, in achieving customer satisfaction and lifetime value.
Absolutely, and also Rishabh, it's like a great way to stand out as well, because as consumers, we've gotten used to the classic experience of add to cart, buy product, do our own navigation. So the moment a D2C brand can actually incorporate something like this, even from a consumer point of view, whether they use or don't use the service, every time they know that okay, fine, this is available. These guys genuinely care about me, which is why they have this on, and they are able to help me. If I need any help, they're there for me.
Oh, absolutely. And even for these D2C brands, building this first party community is very important these days, because third party cookies
100%.
are on a deathbed now, right? They are
Yeah.
going to be there, right? So these
Correct.
things absolutely are extremely important. But tell me, Kartik, D2C brands do want their customers to talk about the positive experiences of using their brand. And
Yeah.
what in your experience can brands do to make their customers talk and turn them into their extended arm of marketers, or maybe also become a product creator by giving their constant feedback? Any suggestions on those type?
Yeah, so in the industry, we call this user-generated content. A lot of agencies will go out and call these people evangelists and advocates and stuff like that, right? But it's the reason that these have become buzzwords in our industry is because it's so important, right? It's very easy for a brand to go, I mean, as easy as it can get to buy someone to kind of advertise for you or to represent you as an ambassador. So it's very easy for brands to go out and get people to become ambassadors for them. But it becomes really interesting when people are coming out on their own and actually having these things to say about the brand. And and that's essentially what brands want to showcase, right? This is the best possible way to toot your own horn. Even though I am posting this, it's come from somewhere else. Someone sent me this video about if you're a pet product, if you're doing pet grooming stuff, right? A pet owner and their pet having a great time. Maybe it's a Sunday morning and they're having a bath and they've just taken a video or a photo and they've sent it to us and they've spoken about how much they like the product or how much their pet seems to like the product. That's something that you'll see the brand plastering all over every touch point because it's so important. Um, so while we realize the importance of it, a lot of brands struggle to make it happen, right? Because they will try and just maybe call you up and tell you, hey, can you send us a photo or can you send us a post? But it has to go beyond that. We've used the word experience so many times, and it all boils down to that. If their experience is so personalized, it's so feel good, and we're giving them something in return for them, kind of advocating our community or advocating the brand, it obviously incentivizes them to do it. So I think incentives in some capacity is great. However, I do recommend that it should not be a straight away like a shameless incentive where whether people are having a good experience or bad experience, they're saying, "Ke, bahut acha laga." So it should not be incentivized to that extent. It should be pushed to the extent where someone says, "Hey, it's a little bit of effort for me to do it, but I've genuinely had a great product or a great experience or a great interaction with this brand or the brand team. I would love to talk to them about it, or I would love to let people know about it." So I think incentivizing people in small ways, making them feel special. There was this very interesting pet company, and that's why this example probably came first to my mind. But they were competing with Amazon in the States back in the day. I think it was called Petco. I could be wrong on the name, but one of their key ways of expanding their community was exactly this. They capitalized on user generated content and they get so much content in on a regular basis. But it actually happened because their customer experience was so personalized. Like on the when they came onto the website, they had to put their dog's breed, their dog's birthday, their city. So the minute it was say the pet owner's birthday, they'd send a small card, an actual physical card saying, "Hey, happy birthday." Of course, the card had a human and a pet and an animal on it. So there is again that relatability, right? And if say tomorrow some brand that you use sends you a happy birthday card, first thing you're doing is taking a photo, putting it on Instagram. We're living in a day and age where people love displaying their lives, and especially these small wins, because it is a win. It makes us feel so good, right? So when that personalization gets topped up with a feel good, then I think people will share it automatically. But beyond that, if you can just incentivize them a little bit, right? Like get free treats the next time you place an order from us. It's a small thing. Treats is not going to burn a hole in their pocket in any way when they're buying the other range of products. But it's that small giving back. It's trying to build that community. It's that personalization. It's that incentivization. So together, these 3, 4 things kind of make it easier for you to generate or to have user-generated content, or to build, evangelists, like people that will actively speak well on behalf of your brand. But yeah, if I have to boil it down, it'll be those things.
Oh, very well articulated, Karthik. But tell me, Rehan, most D2C brands, after achieving some sort of scale, aspire to move from online to offline retail as well. So how do
Yeah.
you help them from marketing standpoint? Do you change your messaging when these D2C brands are penetrating or trying to penetrate the offline segment?
Yeah, so typically there will be a modification to the strategy, but you don't adjust too much with the brand, because there's a reason it's worked in the first place, right? The whole reason that someone says, okay, fine, the universe of digital is now, I've explored it to a good capacity, now I want to go offline. The reason typically is for growth, because you've done something well so far. There are two cases where this happens. One, someone says that, listen, this is not an online product. This is something that you have to upsell at the counter of a grocery store, for example. No one's buying this online. So then fair enough. Then maybe you change it. But typically for most brands, you still keep the core and the fundamental strategy similar. What often changes is your distribution channel, because you're talking to people who are there with a different goal, different mindset. Let's say if someone's already in the store, they're likely to want or require your product anyway. Because again, there are a couple of levels. We spoke a lot about the D2C strategy versus marketplace strategy. It's also similar offline. You might. So again, depending on what sort of structure works for you and what commercials, etc., work for you, you have to keep your strategies a little different. There's actually a very interesting company that we have done a little bit of work with, who the company actually helps these people go offline from the entire distribution strat point of view. They'll figure out maybe in 10 or 20% of the cost, that if you were to do it directly, because they have the distribution system and the networks and the sales and support and stuff and all of that. So they help you actually go offline and start off offline. So from a communication point of view, we try to keep our communication as consistent as possible. And often what we like to try and figure out, and what D2C brands should try and figure out, is what you said earlier, is that maintain your first party data. Don't look at these things as two totally separate business units, that my offline is doing well, my online is doing well. Because that guy who's bought from you offline is far more likely to buy online than a guy who's never heard of you, who then you have to advertise to, and vice versa, right? If you have people who are online first consumers, and you say, hey, send a mass mailer to everyone in Bangalore saying, hey, we've opened up a store in Bangalore. There's on the first 2 days, it's only invite only, but since you bought from us, you can come down in the first 2 days at a 20% discount or whatever it is. So the brands that are able to integrate their online and offline typically see far more success than people who look at it as two separate business units and say one person handles offline, one person handles online, and they sit in different cities and they talk once a month while just sharing their financials. That doesn't work. It has to be an integrated strategy.
True. Absolutely. So Karthik, since so many students also listen to this podcast, I would want you to touch base about, broad career opportunities which are there in the digital marketing space as well. Just if you can just highlight a bit on that.
Yeah, so I think just as a space, whether you are the brand or you are someone that wants to actually work because they find the space interesting, I think there's tons of opportunity in digital. It's been that way for the last 5, 7, 10 years, and I think it's going to be that way even moving forward. I know there's this whole thing of, hey, AI is coming and will it replace people's jobs? I think people's jobs are safe if you figure out how to use AI. So there is still going to continue to be a lot of potential in this space when it comes to joining this as an industry of your primary profession. You will need to constantly adapt and evolve. But honestly, that's been the case as far back as we can remember, whether it was when Rehan and I started or founded the Starter Labs, or where it was when we were working before or consulting before. There were so many rapid changes. You really had to go out of your way to kind of keep up with how this industry is growing. Um, so that being said, if you are able to keep up with the changes, if you are able to understand how to use all of these changes to your advantage, there's going to be plenty of scope to get in and continue to grow and flourish in digital. I think the piece of advice I would like to give people is actually start getting out there and working, be learning. Because agencies will completely understand where people are when they are, working for the first time, or if they've not worked in digital before. The learning curve is very, very steep. It's not too difficult. It's steep because you get to learn a lot in a short period of time. But a lot of this tech savvy people can really easily kind of get the hold of. People from the younger generation do tend to understand the digital world a lot easier, if I can make that generalization. So they will kind of get there. They will kind of figure everything out if they actually start to get their hands dirty. So first thing, work as much as possible, whether it's smaller projects, whether it's college festivals, whether it's college seminars. Everyone has the ability to kind of make the most of digital. You don't need to be the biggest brands in your industry to make the most of it. So just kind of start getting your hands dirty, and start actually studying stuff, right? Like start learning stuff. Digital is the one space that's probably actually as strong online as it would be if you went to a traditional university or college or school to learn it, right? Your Facebook gives you its own certifications, Google gives you that, Amazon gives you that. I'm sure your Flipkarts and other brands are not too far away from reaching that place where they actually certify people that understand the platform inside out. Over and above that, if you want to get into the technicalities of web development, you even got platforms like Shopify actually giving you start to finish tutorials. Um, so there's way too many sources to kind of learn. So if you're constantly doing that, it becomes so much easier. But between just trying to get your hands dirty and actually spending time learning about the industry, learning about the skill sets, the opportunities will continue to increase. And with the number of agencies that there are in India, I'm confident that it's not going to reach a saturation. So just work as much as you can and learn and read as much as you can, and you'll be good.
Yeah, and to add to Kartik's point about opportunities, in fact, digital is the one space where you can make, where there are more opportunities that will come out just by virtue of the industry being so ever evolving. And also, like, if you are, Rishabh, for example, to work at a more, let's say, traditional marketing company, let's say a corporate company will spend the first 6-8 years as an executive, senior executive, then you'll spend another 6-7 years as a manager, then a few 4-5 years as a senior manager, and then maybe after 20-25 years you'll be considered for, let's say, a vice president post. In digital, that can happen in 10 years. It's half the time technically. So you're able to jump much more, you're able to work with more people more quickly, you're actually able to power pack maybe 5 years of work experience into your first 2-3 years, if you do exactly as Kartik said, right? You take your opportunities and you keep evolving, because there's a lot of self-discipline and self-learning that you need to do. But the opportunities are there in digital for those who want to genuinely take them.
Yeah, but it's exactly that belief, right, Rishabh? And it's thanks for bringing this up, Rehan, because Rishabh, I'll tell you how this ties into how we operate. We actually sit with our team and build out. Rehan and me, like collectively, individually, sit with members from our team, no matter where they are in the traditional corporate hierarchy, right? Whether they're executives or they're department directors. We actually sit with them and every year chalk out what the next year or 2 years should look like to them, because there is just so much potential to grow in this industry. So we don't want people coming in and just kind of sitting and doing the same thing, even 3, 4, 5 months in a row. We actually want them to keep evolving. We want them to use all the tools, all the data, all of the accessibility features that the digital world provides us, all of the technological enhancements that the digital world kind of gives us to try and fast track our career. So all of this is not just to say we actually do spend time with our team to chalk out where they should be learning, the sources from where they can be learning, whether it's funding, certifications for them, because we know how easy, not easy, but how much less time consuming it is to advance as a professional in the digital space.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, guys, we've had an incredible conversation in last half an hour or so. But, before you guys leave, maybe a last piece of advice that you would want to give to those D2C brand owners who would be listening to this conversation.
If I had to give one piece of advice, it'd be don't make your agencies your enemies. We can all grow together, right? And when we work together, we can actually make wonders happen. We'll never be able to produce products or services like the brands do, because that's not our key area. But our key area of work is unlocking and decoding the digital space. So lean on your agencies, expect them to make impact. Let them kind of venture into the areas that they're experts on. And if it's a good relationship, you're going to have a plethora of improvements, of data points, of places that will really just lift your brand up to the next level.
Yeah, and I'll cover the other side of what Kartik said, which is not the sort of our power alley in terms of expertise, but it's so important is to have a genuinely good product, right? A product which someone will come and buy. We're very good at making people buy a product once, but we can't fool them into buying it. If they don't like the product, they're not going to buy it again. So if someone has a product that's a genuinely good product, then that's a gold mine for us. We really know how to take those businesses to the next level.
Wow. Awesome. On that note, guys, thank you, Kartik, Rehan, for taking out time today, for speaking to us. I think lovely having both of you here on the show.
Likewise. Thank you, Rishabh. It's been great, yeah. And hopefully we'll maybe come back next time around and share stories and experiences from other aspects of our work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but thank you, Rishabh. This was great. Had a great way to spend what would otherwise be a relatively lazy afternoon post lunch. But it was lovely talking to you, and yeah, hope we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely. I look forward to more some, real life case studies that you guys could share, sometime later, few months down the line. But on that note, to all our listeners, thank you guys for joining us. We continue on our mission of bringing more such infotainment conversations for you guys. Goodbye. Signing off for now, guys.